Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast, the podcast that's recording this before Christmas but pretending that it's after Christmas. I'm one of your hosts, John Bruford, joined by your other host, Fintan Costello. Fintan, hello.
Hello, John.
Hello, Fintan. Did you get anything nice for Christmas?
I hope so.
Me too.
Good.
I also hope I got something nice. Good times. So, another episode of the Gambling Files. Well, another year, really, isn't it?
Another year.
We've been doing this for ages, haven't we? Doing this for
3 years? Two and a half years?
I'm not sure. Every episode just feels so fresh.
It just feels like it's day one. We're just making it up as we go along. It's amazing, really.
Imagine how onerous this would feel if we planned it.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
But you know what they say, Fintan? Do a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
I don't believe that.
No, it's the kind of thing stupid people say. There's a great quote from a very early Simpsons episode where, hang on 1 second. Dude, fuck off. Sorry, the dog was squeaking at me. Luckily, I've taught him swearing commands. Bart's feeling a bit bad about himself. It's the episode where Homer dries his tears with the hairdryer. And Bart says, but it's something to do with the girl. Bart says, Dad, Mum says it's what's inside you that's important. And Homer says, no, son, that's just something ugly people say.
Dear. Oh, dear.
You forget how good those early episodes were because the recent episodes.
They were truly excellent.
And excellent for you.
Recent ones. I've watched a few of them with my son, because my son's got into it. I've watched a few of them recent, the newest ones. And they're actually, they've come back. I think they've come back again.
What I don't get, though, right, is how does South Park stay so fresh? And yet it barely changes from one season to the next. And I think it comes down to South Park they found a way to animate South Park, which means that it takes basically a week to do an episode, which for any animated show is unbelievably fast. So it means they can be topical.
Yeah. There's topical. I also think you've got the Matt and Trey, whatever, the two South Park guys, the writers. Obviously, I'm sure they've got a team and there's a whole bunch of stuff, but you've also got that continuation where realistically, I'm sure Matt Groening's just not involved in The Simpsons anymore.
I'm pretty sure he's just he's got his Scrooge McDuck swimming pool. He probably went to your guy
turnover. For that. Probably. Got a good guy for that. He'll install the sauna on the
turnover on Simpsons writers is extraordinary. I mean, it has to be because if you think how much is packed into a minute on it, it's impossible to maintain that kind of thing. I speak as somebody that has no experience of that whatsoever. You know me and writing, Fintan. I have an allergy. It brings me out in hives. So we should mention our benevolent sponsors that have made this very possible. Our most recent sponsor is newly onboarded is EveryMatrix. What's their sweet and sexy product, Fintan?
So the sweet and sexy product right now is OddsMatrix, which is their sports betting platform. And with the OddsMatrix sports betting platform, you can run your sportsbook. Pretty simple as that. But it's not just any sports betting platform. It's a great one. It's big. It's robust. They're doing
not just anyone. It's
There's been some recent acquisitions.
I think it's worth noting as well that an awful lot of their recent marketing comms have focused on that. A lot of their customers are migrating from other platforms, and that's where an awful lot of their success and growth has come from. And that is very, very rarely a bad sign in a product. So that's like your best mate recommending it.
There's that, but there's also the geographic range of those. So there's clients in LATAM, there's clients in Africa, there's clients in the UK, mainland Europe, Eastern Europe. So the geographic spread, I think, shows where they're doing really well in terms of having local teams in all these markets, because it's like when you do a translation type thing, it's like 90% is fine, but it's that last 10% that's the magic bit. And with these kind of products, it's like, okay, you've got football, but are you presenting it in the way that people in this country really want to see it? And
totally. I was reading an article, right? I was reading an article recently about using, and this dude was talking about regionalizing product. He was saying about how they were using Google. Like it was a good thing. This guy said, "Oh yeah, we use Google Translate." I'm thinking, "Fuck me." That sounds great.
Exactly.
Use a fucking translator and get it right first time instead.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Google Translate, I use it every day living here in the Netherlands and not speaking a word of Dutch. But it is one of those things where it's like it'll get you directionally there, but it's clearly not native. And that's the big thing, I think. So the lads are great. Definitely give them a call. Get the demo. The difference between you and me at this stage right now is you've had the demo and I haven't, and you're speaking with considerably more knowledge than I am. Not for the first time, obviously. And our second sponsor is the erstwhile persistent and magnificent Clarion Gaming. We're obviously building up to ICE 2025. Oh, it's coming.
I think this episode's going out in January, but I might be wrong. So this might be right around. I don't know.
I've had 2 meeting requests for ICE. I'm already taking ICE meetings.
I'm surprised you've only had 2. Oh, hang on. Fintan. Do you want to meet at ICE?
I'd love to meet at ICE.
With me?
Can we go for a steak?
You know how I feel about eating meat, Fintan.
All right.
Mandatory. But also, we might have some news very soon about something that we're doing at ICE, you and me.
Ooh. Oh, I found the stats. Hang on a second. Sorry, just to go back. 170,000 live betting events per month. 150,000 pre-live bettings per month. Oh, I was completely off. 1.2 million bets every day they process. OddsMatrix.
But they could do more if they wanted.
This is the floor, not the ceiling, people. This only goes up.
I love it when you pull out marketing speak. It's like being stuck in a lift with Swiss Tony. Is this where you tell me you don't know who Swiss Tony is?
I haven't got a clue who Swiss Tony is.
Fucking hell. So he's on the Fast Show. He's a used car salesman, a middle-aged used car salesman with this fantastic hairstyle. And it always talks to it. You always kind of see these little vignettes where he's talking to his young salesman and trying to teach him about life. And it always comes back to the same thing. So he'd be like, Paul, selling cars is a lot like making love to a beautiful woman. Everything they talk about comes back to that. They're talking about camping the one day. And you got any plans for the weekend, Paul? Yeah, I'm going camping. Swiss. Paul, camping is a lot like making love to a beautiful woman. And he just goes into this long, detailed description of how putting a tent up is a lot. And then you unzip the flaps and slip into the old bag. It's so fantastically bad. It's brilliant. But what it actually is, when you see the little vignettes
We've
together...
all worked for that bloke.
Oh, God, yeah. When you see the vignettes together, it's actually a very gradual breakdown of a middle-aged man. It's absolutely... It's this kind of tragic comedy that I fucking love when it's done well. And Swiss Tony, in the original Fast Show vignettes, is absolutely sensational. But my favourite is still this one. Swiss, why do they call you Swiss Tony? Because... you're not Swiss, are you? Well, Paul, it's funny you should ask. It's because I'm ridged like a Toblerone and hung like an Alp. Oh, it's fantastic. It's very. Anybody that hasn't seen the Fast Show out there, I heartily recommend it. Johnny Depp is a big fan of the Fast Show.
So I remind you of Swiss Tony? Is that... sorry, just to loop it back to me? Like, is that what we're saying?
Kind of,
tragic
yes.
Middle-aged man dropping knowledge bombs.
It's flowing out the ceiling, people. You know, Paul.
Setting targets.
It's fantastic. I love it. We need to mention our third most beautiful sponsor, which is Optimove, which ties into this very episode because we have a sponsor guest on there, not because of the usual, they gave us money, so we asked somebody on there. It's because they're usually quite interesting. So that's what we went with. And we've got, I've got my notes here. Hold on one sec. We've got Motti Colman, VP of Revenue iGaming for Optimove. But the conversation centers a lot around AI and the use of AI and goes to lots of places.
Yeah, I think it's what's fascinating about it is that you've got, and it was a previous guest who dropped this, and I've trotted it out like it's me now for ages. AI is just a fancy word for equations, and
Paul, AI is a lot like...
but it's right. So you've got this, but Optimove have been doing predictive stuff for ages, like this, what their whole business is on. And their whole business is built on equations. So they were an AI business before AI was sexy. And talking through that and what it means and how they're using it but the impact on clients, the impact on RG, the different applications for it, and there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of buzz around AI, and there's some interesting use cases, there's some novelty use cases, but seeing it actually, or talking to someone like here's how we're using it, and this is how it's making our clients more money or saving them money, is really the kind of like, all right, that this really makes sense. And it's those kind of use cases that I think are far more interesting than, we can make a nice picture, or it can write 5,000 word essay that nobody's ever going to read because it's clearly written by a robot. So I'm really interested in the super practical. Like I will hand my life over to an AI if I thought I could actually just get the job done, but it can't. And so, but the way Optimove is using it is like, okay, yeah, you can really scale up a business. You can really do a lot of really smart things with their tools that is powered by AI, but also there's the human kind of, and the experience, the industry experience and stuff on top of it. So super interesting stuff.
I lost faith in AI when I tried to make an AI generated image to publicize this podcast. And I put in the request. It was very simple. It was an outdoor autumn wedding, Northern Hemisphere, officiated by a bear that is on fire.
Super specific. Like, what could go wrong?
Well, I didn't even get, there wasn't even a fucking bear in it. Never mind a burning bear. Anyway,
I've definitely had a few things where I'm arguing with ChatGPT of like, no, please do exactly what I've instructed you to do. And then it's coming back with not following orders, which just defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
If I wanted to be argued with, I'd go talk to somebody on the team.
Yeah, I'd go get the kids involved.
Bring my wife. Darling, I've got an idea.
No, you haven't. Paul, having an idea. Paul, hosting a podcast is a lot like making love to a beautiful woman. And with that in mind, I'd like to introduce Motti Colman. Motti. Welcome to our guest on this week's episode. Assuming we're only doing one episode this week, I don't know. I'm really not in charge of anything now that I work with high-flying executive go-getter Fintan Costello. We're joined by, and this is in no way any kind of sycophancy. It's no, we're not corporate shills. We're not suckling at the corporate teat. No, Fintan, you are the corporate teat. That's not the same thing.
I wish I was being suckled.
We're not suckling at the corporate teat. Just because we've got somebody on that works for one of our benevolent, kind, and gentle sponsors. We're joined by Motti Colman, who's VP of Revenue iGaming at Optimove. I think I got your title right there, Motti. Hello and welcome.
It's a mouthful, but yes. Thank you.
Well, I've got a mouthful of corporate teat right now.
This is my podcast debut.
Really? Yeah. Oh, we'll be gentle. Well,
don't be, actually. It's more fun.
Well, Fintan, how do we always refer to Optimove?
The iGaming's number one CRM platform. Used by over 50% of the EGR Power 50 list.
It is, yeah.
But also, when we were talking to the top man, we referred to them as clearly very considerate lovers.
Well, not so well known, but I'm glad you're promoting that as well.
It's good to just get it out there.
So, Motti, how long have you been with Optimove?
Coming up to 10 years. Yeah, 10 years. You wouldn't believe it, but I used to look like Fintan when I started. So this is Motti 2.0 without any of that. But I had the fro, the Jew fro, as we like to call it.
It's very much so. This is you've gone for the aerodynamic look now. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
it's just like streamlined, straight to the revenue, no messing around.
Interestingly,
10 years in Japan.
I was in an airport in Russia at one time, and oh man, it's where my terminology is going to let me down. But bear with me. I'm from a small town in the English countryside. I was in this airport. It might have been St. Petersburg or somewhere fairly regional anyway. And I've never felt so hairless in my life, because everybody else in that particular part of the airport is the term Hasidic Jew.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Then the big beards and everything.
Yeah.
And I just felt so emasculated. That's the word I'm looking for. I just had nothing to bring to that party.
From a hair perspective.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's fair. So what does a VP of Revenue at VP Revenue iGaming at Optimove actually do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, firstly, I have another VP revenue for our non-iGaming part of the business, which is called our growth verticals. But iGaming is our bread and butter. It's where we started. It forms the big chunk of the business that we do. We stumbled upon it by mistake 12 years ago. We built a product that happened to be very, very good for the world of online gambling. And as it was starting to become a thing for us, I at the time was working for William Hill over here in Tel Aviv. And Optimove was looking for somebody to come and kind of build out the online gambling division. Really, I say division, but there were two of us. Today, there's 25 of us, so it's a slightly different beast. But today, I manage the entire commercial operation for all of our online gambling, with the strategy. So I've got teams over in our New York office, which we started to build out as soon as PASPA passed. We've got a big office in UK, and then I've got a few people dotted around Madrid, Colombia, Brazil. So I manage all of that.
Well, you say there were two of you early doors. Is the other individual still there as well?
Yeah. Amy Littman, she's been at the company for 11 years. She was here just before I got here. Amy still works within the team. She probably closed in the region of about 250 to 300 iGaming deals herself. So, wow. She's a serious veteran.
Excellent.
The longevity is really impressive as well, right? That kind of employee retention's super impressive, particularly for the gambling industry, or it's huge. That's really impressive.
It is. I think that, it both speaks to the type of company we are, and there's a lot of people that have done that. It also speaks to the fact that I'm a bit of I like my feet under the table. I wasn't a single man that played the field. I like what I like. So I've been very happy here for a very long time. It's been very rewarding. And also, I just think in the online gambling industry, to do the job that I do, I had a hit list of operators that I wanted us to work with from day one. And I have been slowly scratching those off. And it's a continuous, it's not that, there are some new companies that have entered into that, but the reality is that I've been focusing on the same list of 100 for the last 10 years and slowly hitting the mark on all of them. So, it feels like a constant game that I'm still playing.
So you mentioned that this came about by accident. We've got to go back to that.
Okay.
What did you think you were making?
When?
You said the product came about for iGaming by accident. So what did you think it was?
Right.
Was it like for managing garden centres?
No, it wasn't. But it was for the 3 years before Optimove became a software product. We were doing consulting. Pinny, the CEO, had always been. He was lecturing at university on customer modelling, and we were going off and writing reports for B2C companies and helping them understand their customer data. Israel, Tel Aviv, 2009, 10, 11, 12, the online gambling industry here was booming. That's when I was working for William Hill. There were 888 was here. Ladbrokes had their whole online operation here, and many other businesses spawned off from it. So we had a very easy go to market, because within 5 minutes of the office, there were a lot of gambling companies. And it just so happened that the product and the way that we built the product was perfect for the online gambling industry. I think primarily it's because we always focused on customer behavior, customer intelligence. And there's so much data that's generated in the world of online gambling that it just so happened to align with the stars that, we had a very, very strong local market, but also a product that was directly talking to exactly what it was that the operators were needing. So we never had to educate the market that CRM as a concept, player intelligence, all of this kind of idea was something of high significance, because it was already. So we stumbled upon that. We didn't realize that we were building a product that was perfect for it, but it became clear quite early on that we had done.
Nice. Really smart. So one of the things we wanted to talk to you today was looking ahead to 2025. And I think if we're looking at kind of the near future, AI seems to be it's not even seems to be, AI is here. It's kind of hitting that mass market kind of conscious level, my 12-year-old's got a ChatGPT subscription type thing. But as a previous guest has said, AI is just a fancy word for equations and maths equations. And you could argue, or I would argue, that you guys have been doing maths equations for a very, very long time, and predictive modeling and all of these things. And we can call it AI today, and I'm sure you can call it AI today, completely legit. So as somebody who's been doing this for a long time and has probably thought about AI or worked with it hands-on for a decade, where do you really if we kind of break it down to a few different areas? So let's always start with the customer. So from a customer perspective, from a gambling customer perspective, where do you feel all right, the next 12 months, AI customers are going to experience or feel, or where do you think that's going? Vague question, but
no, there's a few things to unpack there. So the first thing to say is that it's interesting how you put it there, because I agree. We were doing AI before it was cool, and so much so that it's become this thing. It's become this buzzword. I always instructed my sales team not to talk about it, to explain how we utilized it, but to not just throw out a fancy buzzword, we do AI. And you're right, it was maths equations. It was done from the perspective of predictive modeling. And that was kind of always that's a DNA of our business. That's what we were doing, as I explained before we even built a software platform. And so the way that we always approach this whole industry, the whole idea of CRM, we didn't invent the concept that you should target customers on a one-to-one basis. We didn't invent that, but what we pioneered was helping our clients understand who the customer is. And we did that both in terms of historical data, but then also using that historical data from a predictive modeling perspective. And so, we always claimed, and we still do, that operators that use Optimove understand their customers in a much deeper way than they otherwise would, and can be much smarter about the way that they talk to the customer. And that's kind of the way that we've always solved the problem of one-to-one marketing is from that perspective. So we've always focused on AI historically from the perspective of helping our clients understand who the customer is. And that still remains very much true today. That being said, there's many other applications of it as well. And, you sort of mentioned there ChatGPT. I think that for a lot of people, talking about predictive modeling to the layman doesn't necessarily mean very much to them. ChatGPT is an application, like you said, as a 12-year-old can understand that and can see how that's actually utilized. So I think that the real world applications of AI today to the person on the street is a lot more accessible than it ever was before, which is why whilst it still is a buzzword, it's actually much less of one because people really understand what it is that they're getting into. All that being the case, I think that the way that AI continues to develop in the world of online gambling is very much around empowering individuals to do more with the minutes of the day that they have. And kind of one of the main ideas that we're talking a lot about, and I think we always kind of were, but we never really understood that we were, is this idea of a positionless marketer, which is to say that you've got the marketing individual whose responsibilities historically have been done on a conveyor belt. I, as the marketer, I built the content, but I didn't create the segment. The segment was created by my business intelligence team, and I didn't analyze the campaign. It was done by my data analysis team, and I didn't build the content for the email template. That was done by the content team working on a CMS. Or there's all these various different stages that take place within the funnel of how do you get a campaign out the door. And I think that a lot of what AI helps an individual marketer achieve is the ability to do many of those different things at once without necessarily needing to understand or to be a professional, if you like, on each individual one of those, but to be somebody that can actually encapsulate the variety of different tasks that are required from marketing as a general theme. And so, if I had to condense that down into a thought, it's operational efficiency. I think one of the biggest things from a marketing standpoint is the time to value, the time of an ideation to execution has been massively reduced by all of the various different applications that AI can provide, and it will continue to do that going forwards.
Yeah, because I think the position as marketer concept I love, because the modern marketer has to wear multiple hats, and you've got to know HTML and understand the social media algorithms and SEO and buying media and brand planning and the whole thing. And then when you take all of the different channels and all of the different touch points, and then you go into personalization, you end up with this crazy matrix of just like, oh my God, I need 1,500 pieces of collateral for Meta. I need 500 TikTok videos. I need, or even just email copy, like unique email copy based on it becomes this completely unmanageable mess of different things. And that's where AI or automation really kicks in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? We create our templates, and then the tools do the hard work for us and delivers a great experience to the user. That because anybody can say, oh, one-to-one marketing and personalized, brilliant on paper, looks amazing PowerPoint presentation to the exec team. But the boots on the ground reality of actually delivering that is a bloody nightmare.
Yeah.
You can't do it without automation.
And actually that showed historically with our clients. We always had a platform where people could run segmentation down to the nth degree. But the blocker was always the ability to actually do something different for each of these segments. It's all very well and good having 1,000 different segments, but if you've only got 3 different templates, then that's really where you that's as far as you get. So I agree that it expands the ability to actually utilize the various different levels of segmentation you've got.
And if you ever want to see a designer just like lose the will to live, asking them for like 1,500 variations of this banner, even just banner sizing, just kills all the creativity out of them. Why did I spend 5 years in art school to be doing this shit? So that's from a player's perspective.
Yeah.
When we zoom back up then, so from business leaders, so okay, look here, I'm the CEO of this business. We want to plug in this tool. When how does it link back, or how do you guys, I suppose, I don't know if the AI questions there, but it's okay. So the team's running around, they're super busy, they're using the tools, they're automating, they're doing one-to-one. Where do you see the translation then into, okay, this is definitely making us more money. This is working, and we can close the loop, and I can get a nice dashboard that proves this is profitable and I'm a great leader. How does that work?
So I talk to a lot of my other people in the high-tech industry here in Israel that are selling SaaS. And actually what you've just explained is one of the hardest things that they have to do, is how do they prove value from a sales perspective, from a usability perspective as well. And kind of one of the things that we've always done unbelievably well, we're a science-first company, full of geeks and data. And so the sort of the test and control, the A/B testing, the self-optimize, and we'll get onto that in a moment. But what we've always done is try to show uplift on every single campaign, every single level of a campaign, so that you're seeing what would have happened had you have done nothing. Right? What's a customer going to do anyway? They're going to make a deposit this week regardless, even if I send them bet 10, get 10, or are they going to do something as a result of it? So by pulling away a control group and seeing the uplift from an individual test on any given KPI, that's the first building block to understanding the analysis. Now, firstly, even just with that, you can take collectively all the different campaigns that you're running. And a CMO doesn't care about the campaign, but they want to zoom out and they want to see it maybe even on the life cycle level, which they can, of course, do from within the reporting itself. Where it starts to get more interesting is that when you start thinking about optimization of campaigns, we spoke a moment ago about how you can have 1,000 segments and the blocker there is having the content. That's true, but also you also run into the problem of orchestration, right? It's my birthday today and Tottenham are playing tonight. Neither of those two things are true, but if it were, what campaign should I receive today? Should I be receiving the offer on Spurs to hopefully win tonight, or would it be my birthday offer? And once you start thinking about the customer from the perspective of the KPI uplift that you're looking to measure, then you can use the KPI from a smart orchestration perspective, such that when you have multiple competing campaigns, you can let the AI within the tool actually determine what the best route to uplift is for the individual customer. Should they be receiving a real-time campaign now? Should they be receiving the birthday offer? Should they be receiving it via an SMS, or should they be receiving it by email? The marketer themselves aren't capable of being able to actually apportion and build those journeys. I mean, historically, what a CRM journey looked like, and that's how CRM started, was if and then. On a Sunday, send them this. If they opened it, send them that on the Tuesday. And if they didn't, it just doesn't talk to the customer at all. The customer doesn't care if they've opened or closed an email. They've done 100 things between opening or closing an email. So by having all these various different touch points with the customer, but having the tool that understands the next best route of where the customer will take, that again is where the AI can start to kick in, and it can look at campaign performance as a way of a route to success. To go back to your question, what that means is that if the AI is allowing you to set effectively the rules for how a customer is approached, but B, also providing you with a zoomed out version of what the uplift is on the customer or on the journey or on the life cycle, however far back you want to look at it. Top-down level leaders can see exactly what it is that the CRM teams are achieving and exactly what the uplifts that they're getting for any given KPI.
That's cool. That's really cool. So, okay, so we've looked at the customer, we've zoomed up, we've looked at from the exec level. If we zoom out further, then there's kind of the regulatory landscape. So, responsible gambling, player protection. I wouldn't say it's a hot topic. It should be a hot topic, but it's key. But it's also a shifting landscape. So there's today's rules, there's maybe tomorrow's rules, and there's the uncertainty of everything in between. it doesn't take it's fairly obvious, like a tool that can, a CRM tool can be used to encourage people to gamble or to intervene when they're gambling too much. So what kind of, like, where do you see Optimove sitting with that? And like, how is that going to evolve over the next few years? And like, what do you expect to see?
Yeah. So the first thing is that you're right. And actually there is historically a problem that's generated by CRM versus responsible gambling, right? Which is, on one side, player value maximization can be thought of from a short-term lens, and responsible gambling should be thought of much more holistically, right? But the reality is that the two things need to be done together. And actually the companies that do that the best are lottery businesses, I find, because lotteries have such strong regulation as government-sponsored businesses, essentially, that they can't be seen to be creating gambling problems, whereas maybe some of the gambling operators, even the regulated ones, have been a little bit more laissez-faire about that over the years. So the first thing to say is that operationally, I always would hope to see that the two are kind of being run together under one umbrella. The second thing to say is, I'll go back to the customer again, because that's what we obsess over and that's what we think about, and to try and intertwine that with AI. But there are many different ways that you can help problem gambling. You can do it from affordability checks, which is not something that Optimove would ever do or think about, because we don't know anything about that. But what we do know is the customer, and we know predictive modeling, and we can use our AI mechanisms to help achieve that. Now, one of the things you mentioned there about the changing landscape, and it remains difficult constantly, is that there is no clear definition of what a problem gambler is. No one can define that for you. So much of the work that the operator needs to be doing is to be seen to be doing what is expected of them to protect customers. One of the things I believe they should be doing is trying to understand at a very early stage in a customer journey, is the player showing early signs of becoming a problem gambler? And so for us, that's a very easy thing to do, but that sits very much within our remit of predictive modeling. So what we will do is we'll sit with our clients, and between the two of us, we'll come up with a definition of what problem gambling is. And that often means defining new attributes that exist. So for instance, I might deposit £10 a day and you might deposit £100 a day. And for each of us, that's absolutely fine. The problem becomes if I'm depositing 10 today, 20 tomorrow, 40 the day after, and 80 the day after that. And so the new attributes that we would generate for the customer level would be rate of change. Basic mathematical term, the gradient, right? So how that customer is heating up over a period of time, as one very simple generated attribute that we might look at. But what we'll be doing is trying to work with the client, with the operator, to build out a predictive model that looks at the very early stage of when the customer is starting to heat up, and at a very early point use CRM and use the platform as a way of actually speaking to the customer, which is to say, look, we don't want to cut everyone off just because they've just started showing early indications, but can we send them information? We've noticed this in your behavior. Maybe slow down. Maybe they're betting only on massive ACCAs. Maybe we can point them towards single bets that might have a higher chance of winning, that are less risky, etc., etc. So there's many things that you can do in an early stage of development by producing, again, the ultimate output of a model like that is, say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hot are you right now, for instance, or is it a traffic light, green, yellow, red, whatever it might be. So we use predictive modeling. We use our AI algorithms as a way of helping our clients understand the direction that the customers are going in and try and prevent it from ever occurring.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That's really cool. So when we let's forget the gambling industry. So when we just look at kind of general AI predictions or general kind of AI directions, like what do you expect? Like, is it just going to be a game of the algorithms are just going to get better and better from like OpenAI and Google and these kind of things? Is it really going to be changing people's patterns, or are we going to hit a bit of fatigue while, reality catches up with what an LLM actually does?
Yeah, look, I think it doesn't help that we've grown up on films like The Terminator, does it? Or at least I did anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So, it's an interesting concept. I think that over the next I think there's going to be a bit of a slowdown over the next year, where we all sit here and try and figure out what any of this actually means, and how we can actually adopt it back into our lives properly. But, I can tell you just from the way that Optimove as a business runs, just in terms of the way that our tooling and our internal, one of our main outlooks for next year is how we can involve AI in everything we run from an internal process perspective, right? So forget the fact that we work with the gambling industry, but we as a business ourselves, we will be bringing in a huge number of tools that are going to be helping us become a much more efficient business in the way that we operate, which I think by definition means we're going to do a lot of things probably wrong, or rather overspend and buy products that we maybe don't need. So when I say that there'll be this kind of this period, I think it's a very hot topic right now. I think every business is telling every one of their clients or their customers, we are AI, we have AI. I think quite a lot of that is a bit bullshitty.
Mate, the amount of AI companies that are just ChatGPT or OpenAI API users is crazy.
Yeah, right? far be it from me to trash any of our competitors, but I'm very aware that there's a lot of that kind of stuff going in across the board, which is you write a prompt. No, you write a prompt into the tool, or you're in their CMS and you write in online gambling pictures with a bunny rabbit or whatever, and it pops up and it looks fantastic. It's DALL-E. That's what it is. It's just using OpenAI from a graphics perspective there to include it, and that's absolutely fine. I think what we all need to do over the next couple of years is to kind of come to some consensus about what is and what isn't AI. And this again goes back to kind of the way that I pushed my team to position it over the last 12 months. I'd much rather somebody explains to me what it does rather than what it is, all these names for it and stuff. I'd rather know what it does. What am I going to get out of it by using it?
I think that perspective is so important, because, if we all think back to the .com bubble, where the hype didn't match the reality of, we didn't have broadband, we didn't have smartphones, and deliveries sucked, right? Or whatever it was. So there was or paying for stuff online was still a novelty and you weren't 100% sure. So there was a bunch of like realistic day-to-day problems that didn't match the hype of buying pet food online or whatever it was. And I think with the AI, like I'm looking, like I've got Google's trying to write my emails for me. And given that, I've been a Gmail user since it was invite only, so it's got access to every email I've probably ever written. It's not right. It's not writing my emails. It's just writing somebody else's emails, which are complete bullshit. I would never use that phrase, or I would never sign off an email. So there's a ton of these things where, like,
right.
Oh, mate.
What's your word? My one's necessary.
No, there and there.
There and there, okay.
Oh, it drives my wife. Honestly, if she's going to divorce me, that's what's going to tip her over the edge. And rightly so. It's embarrassing at this point. Sure.
Mine's my surname.
Oh, that's tough. That's why you just called yourself JB. It's just easier.
Well, no, it's just a little typo, but I do it all the fucking time. I spell my surname wrong almost every time I type it.
That's special.
I think it's a combination of fat fingers and one hand types faster than the other hand. I think it's all related.
Which letter? Which one are you getting? What's the typo?
I'm hitting the P instead of the O in my surname.
Okay.
And I do it. A mate asked me, he said, "What? Everybody's got a word that they consistently type wrong. What's yours?" And I don't know. I don't think there are any. A few days later, I'm like, "Oh fuck!"
Classically educated.
So yeah,
no, my spelling's so bad. Even the spell checker can't figure it out half the time. But it is that kind of thing where there's a bunch of use cases, and then there's a bunch of where, like, okay, the tool's just crap and it's just not fit for purpose yet. Like I think the graph I saw the other day was coding. So it was users to Stack Overflow. So it's kind of like ChatGPT launched. So Stack Overflow is growing like this. ChatGPT launches, and then visitors to Stack Overflow just crashes. and just plummets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's like very simple, there's stuff like that where, okay, clearly it's solving problems there, but there's a ton of stuff where it's just like, this is like, you can spot something written by ChatGPT.
Sure.
Like you can just feel like this isn't written by a human. This is crap.
Plenty of publishers are doing that. I've seen sales materials written by it and on reputable platforms, and they've cleared, furthermore, in conclusion, and you're like, fuck me, did you not read this?
But if I'm a writer and I'm getting paid like 3 cents a word for some content mill, of course I'm putting it through ChatGPT. Like, so I think the content industry kind of brought this upon themselves as well.
Yes.
That's a difference.
I think the most important thing is to figure out how we can use it alongside our day-to-day.
Exactly that. Like if I was a consultant or a programmer, I'd be worried. Right. Because it can do PowerPoint decks just as well as I can, kind of thing. But I think there's a really interesting thing where what do they call it? We overestimate the short term and underestimate the long term, right? So we can all kind of agree, okay, the hype's a bit hypey and it'll settle itself down. But if we kind of look ahead and assume the same rate of change, like going from BlackBerries to like the iPhone 13 or 16 or whatever number we're up to these days, like technologically insane leap. Where do you see kind of that 5-year kind of period, and where do you think we'll be with that?
I struggle to really estimate that. I think that there are still beyond. I think the most interesting thing from our perspective is on personalization. I think on like this notion of front end personalization as well. Like, we've always dealt with the concept of CRM, thinking about the customer from CRM. Like, what do you send the customer? But if I think, what was the film? Was it Minority Report? I think, where Tom Cruise is walking around in 2050 and
the pre-crimes.
Yes, but he's walking through the street and there's adverts coming out of screens at him as he's walking past, and he knows exactly who he is, and it's showing him pictures of himself wearing clothes that he probably would like to see. This kind of notion of being hyper-personalized to the individual customer, I think just as a general concept, I think that's exactly the direction that it's going, because, I mean, we live in an online world, of course we do. And the more personalized an experience that a customer gets, the better the experience they have with you as a brand, you as a platform, you as an operator, you as whatever you are. And I think that this ability to be hyper-personalized to an individual customer, I think that that's absolutely the direction that it's going in. In our world, in the online gaming world, I just think that each individual customer is going to eventually arrive on site and have a complete unique experience to one that anybody else will have on there. And that's not just from the offer. That's not just from what email did I receive that I fall into a bucket with 100 other customers, like it's the birthday campaign or the Tottenham campaign or whatever it is. I think sort of eventually we're going to get to true one-to-one personalization, where each individual customer is seeing exactly what it was, exactly the bet recommendation for them down to the individual bet type, exactly the slot game that they want to be playing at that particular moment in time, exactly the offer that they need because they've just lost 3 times in a row, and we understand that their level of churn means X, Y, Z, whatever it would be. So I really think that we're going to move very, very heavily down that path of hyper-personalization to the individual.
And, okay, so if we, just to build on that then, so if I'm a marketing nerd, I'm sitting here a bit worried about my job now. Where's the AI going to fail or not be able? What are the gaps the AI is not going to be able to achieve in the next 5 years?
As in, how do you not lose your job?
Or how do I remain useful?
Yes,
that would be the positive way to put it. Relevant. How do I upskill?
Look, it's always been interesting. The hardest part of my job is making sure that the people I sell to feel like I'm going to work with them, not replace them. And I think it kind of goes back to that. I think we'll need to come to a consensus. What can a human do that a computer cannot? And hopefully, it's understanding humans. That's where I hope the answer. That's where I hope the answer remains in every walk of life. Is that there's still a discernible difference between me understanding what individuals will be, and I think at the heart of every marketer is a creative. I think that's ultimately what a marketer is or wanted to be is somebody that has a creative element, a creative spark to them. I'm not that person at all. I don't have any of that inside me. But my friends that I went to uni with were certainly, that were doing marketing, was certainly, and the marketing people I meet were certainly. And hopefully, what the AI allows a marketer to do is, we spoke about a positionless marketer, which means that you can do all of the various different jobs that are required, and some of it will be taken over by AI, sure, but I hope the bit that it leaves behind is that it allows the marketer to focus on being the creative spark that they always wanted to be, and probably got waysided by all the other crap that they had to deal with over the course of their career. I hope that that's where it leaves them.
Do you know, I think there's an area where AI is going to be found wanting. Like when you get a customer like me, there's bound to be somebody else out there that's like me. Like if I get the same stuff that's like all the stuff that I've been doing in the past, and I see the same stuff all the time, I'm just like, fuck this. I'd like to see something different, and I think the algorithms that work best in consumer stuff, I think Netflix does a pretty good job. It's not bad at all, and Spotify does a pretty decent job. But too much,
which is what you listen to this, you might like that.
Yeah,
the Spotify radio of like pick one song and then it keeps you in that genre.
But too much of personalization is in fact just, well, you've only got to think about Amazon ads, right? You go onto Amazon, you buy a beanie.
A toilet seat. A toilet seat's a good example.
For the next 6 months, you're just going to see toilet seat adverts. But I just fucking bought one. It's the opposite of personalization. It's completely irrelevant to me now. I bought it. Yeah. So it's kind of what we're being told is personalization. It's really that's not doing shit for me as it stands. I mean, maybe I'll get into a coma and I'll wake up in Tom Cruise land in 2050.
Right. There was something called one of the big UK online grocers. Who we know very well and spoken to at depth about their CRM strategy. And one of the really cool ideas that they had is that when you start filling your online shopping basket, they wanted to cross-reference that with recipes and let you know that, you've bought this, and that. But if you also buy eggs, here's a recipe for a Victoria sponge that you might like as well. And sort of use recipes on food as a way of cross-selling you to alternative products within, and then try and learn from the customer what sort of recipes they like and what sort of things they might be cooking over and above the individual ingredients they had. And I thought it was a really, really cool way to think about the customer.
It might just be my supermarket, but what I'd really love is the stuff I buy every week is just automatically in the basket.
Right.
Just copy and paste my last order and just stick it in there and just let me tweak the basket. Will be just that's all I need. Like, just look, I buy tortillas every week. I buy the eggs every week. Just simplify it for me. But anyway, I'm sure somebody must do that. Brilliant, Motti. Thank you so much.
Hang on there, Fintan. Hang on.
Sorry.
As we record this, the second batch of episodes from Cobra Kai is about to land in the UK. Motti, have you been keeping up to date with Cobra Kai?
I must tell you, I have never watched a single episode. So I did karate for 10 years and I've achieved my black belt. I'm a first dan in karate at the age of 16. And so I spent most of and I was born in 1982. So the Karate Kid, whilst I was doing all of that karate, was the film. And I was teased incessantly about it as the karate. And I think maybe I've just kind of got a bit of a leftover things. I haven't gone back and watched Cobra Kai, but everybody tells me it's fantastic. So,
Motti, here's the thing. It subverts everything. Daniel is the villain. Johnny is the hero.
Brilliant.
It's bonkers.
I like that.
That first couple of seasons is hilarious.
The first couple of seasons is perfect, for sure. It's genuinely just good 80s fun, but in the modern age.
Great.
For sure. Definitely something for the winter months.
In a good way. Motti, we're gonna kill this there. Thank you very much for joining us, and talking
Please come
about
back again.
Stuff. Yeah, you just
very enjoyable.
I was going to say that's your inner nerd, but your inner nerd is also your outer nerd, isn't it?
Sure, absolutely.
No, Fintan's inner nerd is his outer nerd.
I'm just a nerd, man. Just a nerd.
Like a stick of rock, it runs through you. Okay, yes. Motti, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Motti.